It's pretty clear that AI is here and that it's not going to fade away. It's not one of the other flash in the pan things that started out with a lot of promise and then very quickly turned into kind of a nothing offering. It's here, it's making an impact. People are using it in very material and very beneficial ways. And so I think it's less of a question of whether we should use AI and more of a question of how we should use AI. And in my experience, I think that AI is a thinking medium, not a publishing medium. And what I mean by that is I don't know that I would ever be proud of publishing something that was written by AI. However, I have in several cases used AI to help me write. And I think there's a difference in what that means. So I like AI as a brainstorming tool because sometimes I just need to see an idea framed in 15 different ways so that I can get the ball rolling in my head. And one of the superpowers of AI, generate 15 intro paragraphs that are 50 words or less, and one of them will spark an idea. I don't think AI art is a thing, but I like AI as an art genesis tool. If you go to DALL-E and you say, make me a painting, and then you try to sell that painting, that feels like, I don't like it. I don't like AI art in a way that I would hang it on my wall. But what I've seen people do that I love, they will generate a bunch of different images of this subject. And then they'll look at all those different images and they'll start grabbing things out that they find inspiring. And then they effectively make a mood board or a Pinterest board of what the art could look like. And then they use that as a starting point to sort of compose something that looks very different from what they maybe would have been able to come up with using just the biases in their own head. Joel Hooks was doing this thing that I thought was really clever, where he was playing with the idea of a candy skull, which if I say candy skull, I have a very clear idea in my head of what that means. But the images that were coming out of the AI tools were hugely varied. Like some of them made the skull look like candy. Some of them made it look like a skull sitting on top of a pile of candy. Sometimes like it was all very varied. It was interesting. They were weird. And any one of those could be an interesting starting point for additional art, having used AI as a thinking tool, as a drafting and brainstorming tool. And I really, really like that approach because one of the things that is really hard when you're a creator is the generative phase. Like, how do you get from a blank page to a work in progress? That first step is very, very difficult. And something that I think AI is good at is spitting out a bunch of garbage. And then you can take that garbage and start to pull out the pieces that are interesting. And now you're editing your first page instead of trying to generate the first word on the page. That is effectively what every good writer has given as advice is just start writing and don't worry about whether or not it's good. You're going to throw it all away once you get into a rhythm anyways. And to me, that's fascinating. That's a really good way of thinking of AI. AI is step one. It is not the final step. And if we start to treat it that way, I think we're going to get really creative outcomes and it's going to augment human creativity as opposed to replace it or stifle it or somehow overshadow it.